Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show, and welcome to a very, very special, very different sort of commentary, because I have with me a co-host this time. Say hello to Johan. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's done voice work for me, he's played Scarbor, the demon dragon, for me, and he's appeared in several of my other later videos and helped me on a ton. Yeah, Johan, to take the stage.
Oh, what are you talking about? I am not Johan, I am Tyle Regor, the greatest scientist of the Grineer Empire. I'm kidding.
Yes,
hello everyone,
I should mention, sorry to interrupt you, Johan. Johan does awesome audio work and fan fiction of Warframe. Totally check out his channel, Johan92. I'll leave a link in the description below. Check out, he is a master at audio work and audio drama.
That's going a bit too far, but
dude,
you know,
what
it's
you do
decent
is
at
excellent.
least.
What you do is excellent.
Yeah.
But that's not sorry, but you're as much as I want to talk and praise your channel, we have to talk about the subject in hand, and that's an interesting topic. Like, after seeing so many AAA big blockbuster games come out nowadays, I've noticed a trend, and that trend is, well, there's a lot of DLC. There's a lot of DLC nowadays, and before I give my take on it, let's hear your unique take on it, because there's a lot of DLC nowadays, and the question of the day is, the question for you, my dear viewers, and for you, Johan, is DLC getting out of control?
Oh my gosh, yes, it is getting out of control. I mean, from a business perspective, when a video game is made and when it becomes released and all that, from a business point of view, I feel they're getting, they're lining their pockets basically. A lot of DLCs that are currently released, they are either small things like weapons or armor pieces and whatnot. I mean, a lot of things that you can find in a cash shop in a video game, like an MMO like Slaughter, that could be considered miniature DLC. In a sense, although not really real DLC. Yeah, I personally feel that DLC is getting sort of out of hand, and we sort of need to moderate it back into not being content you take from the game to release as a DLC later, but being all new developed things like items, armor, storylines that are new to the game. To me, a DLC should be something that improves the gameplay and your game, not something that was in the game previously, but you know, we're deciding to release this later. We could leave it in, but we won't. If it's like a DLC if it's something that they feel they weren't finished with, say you create a character and have a story in mind, but you realize that you don't have enough to face the deadline to finish the character and his or her story and make it believable and doesn't seem like something that was just dropped halfway in the game, I can understand removing the character and anything related to them and then work on the story and then on the side and then release it feeling that, yeah, it's complete now. I'll release it either as a DLC for free or a paid DLC. Either way. Then I can sort of understand it. So, got a bit off topic there, but no, I think it's getting out of hand and should move back into being just new things, new content added, not content that should be in the game that was finished but was just taken out just so you can have a DLC on standby.
Alrighty. Well, before we get into examples of good and bad DLC, let me give you my take. Well, I'm okay with the whole Season Pass DLC. I'm completely cool with, like the 3 or 4, like, expansions that are on a Season Pass, like what Watch Dogs and Titanfall and all these other... The Season Pass is becoming it's becoming mainstream. The Season Pass is becoming something you're now expecting from games. You're expecting a Season Pass and 3 or 4 expansions that come with that Season Pass, or you can buy them individually. Like, some really good examples are Metro Last Light. Metro Last Light was able to justify its Season Pass by having magnificent DLC. Watch Dogs looks like it's going to live up to its Season Pass. Titanfall, even though its Season Pass is nothing for is just for the map packs, the map packs are excellent, and dude, like, they're really well made maps, so they're worth the money and worth the Season Pass, and it gives you more playtime on the game. So I'm okay with the Season Pass DLC. However, I will admit we are going way too far with the little things. We are being nickeled and dimed just insanely. Like individual weapons, individual armor pieces, and costumes that are being taken out of the game that were probably in the game. Like the game, or they could have been added for free. This is stuff that could add more value, more customization, just more to the game, and they took it out. And they took it out so that we can be nickeled and dimed. Granted, we don't know 100% how DLC goes. Like, we don't know if it's completely on the developer or if the publisher forces the developer, if the publisher looks at the game, picks out individual things and says, okay, we want you to take this out of the game and we're going to charge it for a separate amount of cash. Like, we don't know if that's how it goes or if the developers go, hey guys, how about we work on this after the full release and we can make a few more bucks as DLC. Like, I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for people making money, doing well with their products, and, well, making money for a living, of course. But I am against, however, nickel and diming the customer, because no one's going to want to buy your products if they know after they buy your product, there's going to be a dozen other things that you're going to want with the product. It's like buying a banana, but you won't get the other 6 bananas that come with the lot of bananas unless you pay extra. Johan, in your opinion, what are some examples of good and bad DLC? Let's start with the bad.
Okay, I'd say a bad DLC would be the Horse Armor DLC for Oblivion. That got a lot of flack, or bad rep, so to speak, because it was really stupid. It was really lousy. So I'm buying an armor for my horse. That's a DLC. And then also the problems that arose with this armor for some reason. There was, although that was more related to a glitch that people abused, that one of the characters, a horse specifically called Shadowmere, which is essential. Shadowmere could not be killed no matter how many times. However, people figured out that an easy way to get a lot of items was to store them in Shadowmere every time Shadowmere died, because when the horse then revives, it basically becomes a walking container. But when you equip the armor on Shadowmere, all these items you stored in the horse disappeared. I'm guessing that was one of the things. That's more bug related, so it has nothing to do with the conversation. But for the same game, we have Shivering Isles, which is a DLC and an expansion. To me, that is an example of a really good DLC. It adds a new area, it adds new weapons, new armors, and it adds new characters, and it made Sheogorath one of the most beloved characters in the Elder Scrolls, along with like Lucian Lachance, but mostly Sheogorath. Another good example for a good DLC would be, I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to think of another good DLC here. I said I just had one. I was about to mention Dragonborn. While that one is a bit on the flip side, it does everything that Shivering Isles does, but it falls short when it comes to a story. Shivering Isles had a pretty strong story, in my opinion, about helping the Daedric Prince Sheogorath taking care of the Grey March, and that was the entire central focus. While in Dragonborn, the Return of Miraak was not really that central as it should have been. It wasn't really all the focus. It can be run through fairly quickly if you just ignore everything else. Bad examples of bad DLC, in my opinion, would be the upcoming Season Pass DLCs for Destiny. Had to bring that up because here people say that, oh, the DLC, the story of the game and some other things, that will be in a DLC pass and all that. But I agree with some people, with a lot of people like Angry Joe, and saying that, a story should always be, no matter how piss poor a story is, it should always be essential to the game. It should always be in the game on purchase. You don't take it out and then release this later on to a DLC. And another thought that occurred to me is, what if Angry Joe and a lot of other reviewers or gamers are wrong? What if the developers, or so to speak, corporate commander is just saying there is no story, and the DLC basically is just new areas, new items, new enemies, but there is little to no reason. Why should I go to this new area? What's my character's reason for going there? Oh, but they get new shiny loot. Yeah, I'd like a more definitive reason. I mean, even if the story in Dragonborn, the DLC, wasn't so good, well, the story wasn't so good as it could have been, it was still an incentive to actually go there in the first place. That's a good versus bad DLC. Then we got DLCs that sort of like Asura's Wrath. We have Asura's Wrath, which its storyline, which had a great story, but they removed the end of the actual true ending, the last chapters. They cut it off from the game and sold that as a DLC later on, the true ending of the game. But it wasn't that big of a deal because the story, if you don't get S rank, obviously, it was a good story and the ending was satisfying. It was a satisfying ending. Granted, the true ending is 1,000 times more satisfying because you get to punch the creator of all the universe in the face. So it's a DLC that's sort of, it's Capcom. It's to be expected. And then it's Capcom, so we was to expect it to see that coming. Like I said before, my preferred type of DLC is something that adds more than just shiny new vehicles, armors, or weapons. Specifically, it's expansion DLCs. I prefer expansions DLCs over mini DLCs. Something that just adds a new armor, or adds a new weapon, or adds a new vehicle, or adds all three together. I prefer to be more than that. So that's my take. I'm taking up too much spotlight. Back to you.
It's okay, Johan. Thank you for that. You bring up a lot of good points, and I do agree with you that expansion packs are the best. It's why I like the Season Pass DLC, because it's basically a bunch of expansions rolled into one, and you can get it for a slightly cheaper price if you buy the Season Pass. So you're basically getting more game, and usually with Season Pass DLC, it's DLC that's being made after the game. I completely agree with you, Al, however, about taking out stuff concerning the storyline. If you're taking out important storyline elements to pay later in DLC, that's cheap, and honestly, that's cowardice. You have to make cliffhangers, you have to make plot holes, you have to make people starve for more plot so that they can buy your DLC. That's not cool. That in my opinion, that's a sign of cowardice. That you don't think your story.
Oh, you shouldn't make plot holes. You said you have to make plot holes. You don't want to make a plot hole. Avoid the plot holes. Give us a plot, but avoid the plot holes.
You know what I mean. Like, they leave out essential story elements, and like, if you want to learn more about this, you gotta buy the DLC. That is not cool. However, some examples of good DLC. Granted, I will grant, Borderlands 2 specifically, has an obscene, a ridiculous amount of DLC, but Borderlands can back up every single piece of its DLC content, because one, it's cheap. Most of the DLC, unless it's the expansions, like with the Season Pass, but those are reasonably priced as well. If you're talking about all the other DLC, like, they're usually $2 to $5. Which is actually pretty reasonable for the amount of content you get. And there's a ton of different new creative things that Borderlands 2 DLC has. Like, while it does have custom characters and, well, not custom characters, I mean customization for your characters, more heads and colors and costumes and all that stuff, they're cheap. They're only $1. So it's completely you can pick and choose, and they're each individual, so you can pick and choose what customization you want for each character. That's good DLC. Forcing us to, like, buy entire packs full of armor and weapons that we're probably not even going to use, or that we don't like, or customization that we're not going to use or we don't like. I don't like that. I like being able to pick and choose what I want. And if all this stuff is being made after the game, I'm cool with that. But like we've said previously, I'm not cool with stuff that was already in the game and taken out to be sold later. For instance, as much as I love BioWare, and I am a sympathizer for EA. I don't think EA is the devil. They make a lot of mistakes, but I don't think they're the devil like so many people call them. I do admit EA's made
Winner
a lot
of the Golden Poo!
Yes, yes, I saw that.
2 times defending champion. 2 times defending champion. Come on, EA, step up your game. You are a good developer when you want to.
Publisher.
Or, you know, a good publisher. Good publisher when you want to. I make the mistake here.
It's cool. But they've recently, for Dragon Age Inquisition, there's a ton of pre-order DLC, and you'll never be able to see it again until, well, it's a timed exclusive for the pre-order. Eventually, you will be able to buy all these items exclusively. Guess what? Original mounts, original weapons, original armor, which is all only pre-order DLC and will each be individual DLC after launch and after pre-orders are gone. No, I'm not cool with that. That's just wrong. You're taking away content that's obviously been made, that's obviously ready and good to go from day one. Why are you taking it out of the game and making DLC out of it? No, you're taking away value from the game itself. From my perspective, the more content you have in the game, the more it justifies its price tag. If you take away content and charge more for it, it means the game has less value, and you're probably going to wait years, literally years, for the game's price to drop, and that will hurt both the publisher and the developer. I think certain types of DLC do more bad than good. They do more damage than the extra money they make. Because if you nickel and dime people, they're just gonna wait for the special edition or the super cheap edition. They're gonna wait months and years to get the game at a cheaper price, because gamers are becoming more and more cost wary. They're watching their prices. They're picking and choosing what they buy, and they're very wary. Gamers are very wary nowadays about spending $60. And I think that's one of the reasons people are so pissed about Destiny, is that, oh man, there's so much extra content, but I already paid $60. Why do I have to pay more for stuff that could have been in the game and added more value to the game? But your take, Johan.
Let me see. Activision. Okay. Now I was just looking. I was just about to say that at least EA and Capcom, for their faults, know the value of a good story. Activision, the publisher of Call of Duty and Destiny, doesn't seem to know this, or they just simply don't care. I mean, EA, at least, they allow for the video game Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO. At least they're letting BioWare go nuts and just focus on the story as much as possible, making SWTOR one of the most heaviest story-driven MMOs out there. I mean, everyone says it's a World of Warcraft clone. Well, it's a damn good World of Warcraft clone. It has more focus on its story and teaching its player about its world than World of Warcraft does. That's something. And when it comes to Capcom, they removed the true ending of Azura's Wrath, but at least they didn't remove the entire story, which was the bread and butter of the game. Counter-wise, we have the story for, I don't know, Street Fighter X Tekken, which also got a lot of bad reputation because of the DLC characters, but at least they didn't remove the actual story that was the focus for the characters to actually go and look for this Pandora's Box MacGuffin item. So EA and Capcom know a little more about the value of a good story and the importance the story has to a game than Activision does, which are pretty much fed up or fed with the idea that gamers only want mindless multiplayer action because they are the publisher of Call of Duty, which we have all of these players that just go over to the multiplayer right away and just ignore the story. I mean, these are they're looking at the numbers. They're not looking at the 1-2 players that really praise the story that is being told in Call of Duty, if there is a good story to be told. I don't know personally. I don't play Call of Duty, but they look at the numbers. They look at how many people may spend their time the most on multiplayer, and there are a lot of those players who do that. So
yes. And not just that, DLC is being, because Call of Duty is so influential, and everybody wishes it wasn't, but What can publishers do? Publishers and developers are going off on what we're telling them. If gamers in the millions, if not billions, keep buying Call of Duty and keep making it successful, they're going to want to emulate that because they want their games to be successful. So they're going to follow the top dog. Oh my god. And while I do not own Call of Duty Ghost, I can tell you it has a ridiculous amount of DLC. At least Borderlands can justify its DLC. It can justify all its costumes and customizations, and it can justify its lengthy additions to the story and bonus modes and all that stuff. It can justify it. COD Ghosts? Not really. I mean, for a multiplayer game, you would want people to keep playing as long as possible. Now, sure, they already got people addicted, and they're going to buy the DLC up front, but oh my god. Call of Duty Ghosts, well, I don't know the exact number, it's well over 20, maybe well over 30 different costumes and custom character skins for Call of Duty. Granted, these don't affect stats or anything, they just affect how you look. Which is, no. Like, why would you take away something, while granted, it's completely personal, no one's forcing you to buy the DLC, why would you take away customization that's going to keep people playing? Like, why would you not have that in the game? Like, when you reach a certain level, you unlock this cool character skin. Yeah, that would keep people playing. Making it DLC, while you do have the hardcore fans who are indeed going to buy it, and that's why they keep doing this, because the hardcore fans won't stop buying it. For regular casual players, this would be an incentive like, oh man, that's a really cool character, I would love to play as that. Oh, I just play a few hours of COD and I'll eventually unlock it. Sure, I'll put a few hours in the multiplayer. It seems like I may be full of crap. I may be completely wrong. Maybe people do want to individually.
We're all full of crap.
Yeah, maybe they
We're
do
all
want.
full of crap at some point.
Indeed, but
go ahead.
If that's what people want, if that's what the people want, like they want to buy, because statistics must be showing, because they keep doing it. If statistics show that people will go out of their way to buy characters and character skins individually and for a ridiculous amount of money, then devs and publishers are going to keep doing it. There's nothing we can do.
No, definitely not. There was something I wanted to say. Okay, these character skins that you were mentioning in Call of Duty Ghosts, is there anything unique about them? Do they have a unique appearance, or are they enemies or characters from the original game that have been taken, that has been turned into DLC? Or are we talking? Okay,
we're talking like Captain Price, one of the main characters from the Modern Warfare series. Even though I don't know why Captain Price. It's like why Captain Price has nothing to do with Ghost. They're two different Call of Duty series, yet they have Captain Price. Okay, if you're going to add Captain Price into your multiplayer, where the hell is, like, where's Mason from Black Ops? Where's what's his name? Where's Tank Dempsey from Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies? I mean, if you're going to take a random character from another Call of Duty series, why don't you do it for them all? I mean, why just Captain Price and Makarov and Soap, just characters from the Modern Warfare series? I could have sworn that the devs wanted to, they wanted to move away from Modern Warfare. This is an all-new Call of Duty, nothing like Modern Warfare. But it's the exact same, and you're releasing DLC with characters from Modern Warfare. Yeah, you're really branching off there.
Okay, and so basically there are no new models, so to speak. There's just reusing old models from the game. There's nothing really new. Maybe one or two unique multiplayer enemies.
Not really.
Just most of it is just reused.
Nothing much. And I have to tell you, there's a ton of custom skins that is literally dude in armor with a different camo, and it's the same armor.
Okay.
There's a ton of those.
Okay, that's a bad DLC. That's bad DLC practice there. I always think back when you were talking about characters. Make me think back to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. And the multiplayer there. That multiplayer had you unlocking different costume designs for your characters as you leveled up, and color schemes. And not as you leveled up your character. The characters don't level up. You level up as a player. Then they released what was it? Da Vinci's. I forgot what the DLC was named, but the DLC added new areas, and it also added. It also added 4 new multiplayer characters, which were already, if you'd already were at a high level with your current game, you'd already have all the customization options for said character unlocked. Or maybe you had to buy them with in-game credits you earned by performing kills. But to me, that's also a good DLC. It added new characters. Well, it didn't really improve the gameplay. It added you something new to look at. Counterwise, we had Assassin's Creed Revelation. My favorite character in Brotherhood was the Doctor, Malfato. And then they added this character. Then this character returns as a pre-order for the multiplayer, and not as Malfato as he was designed in the Brotherhood design, but a newer more that looks more Templar, being all white. And Malfato as a character was supposed to be the Jack the Ripper in the Assassin's Creed universe, basically taking on that role. But this is a completely new character with a new backstory. He looks exactly the same as Malfato. He just have an entire white costume with a red cross painted on his robes. But he moves the same, acts the same, behaves the same, and basically is all around the same character, just a different backstory. To me, I looked at this and I was like, but come on! I love this character. I love the Doctor. Why are you making me pre-order the game like this? Come on!
But again,
better than that.
If to go back to the Call of Duty Ghost DLC, for people who actually did play the campaign from Modern Warfare, like, they know Captain Price, they know Soap, they know Makarov, and so do the devs and publishers. So does Infinity Ward and Action Division. They're going free money, basically. Free money. All we have to do is take the character skins, put them in the multiplayer, and people who really like the campaigns will eat this up, and it's free extra cash.
Yeah, typically. I mean, to me, again, DLC should not be DLC. DLC shouldn't be that you take something out of a game or take something from another game that has about the same graphics engine and just update the graphics a little and then release it. If you want to make a DLC where you take a character from a previous franchise, make it a really, really, really old one. Like Call of Duty. The Call of Duty games I remember playing were the ones that took place in World War II. Those really old games. Or take one of the US soldiers or Marines or Nazi German soldiers from that and, make a new custom model. I mean, okay, it's silly, but at least you're taking something from a really, really old game, updating the model, making it look better, having entirely new textures for this model, and putting it in the game. And, add an extra weapon, add a weapon to this DLC, add an old World War II weapon, and then you can just go crazy by... that's while I don't say that it's a good idea for a good DLC, I'm saying that at least it's better than taking a character that might as well be unlocked as you're playing the game. I mean, if Price was such a beloved character in the Modern Warfare games and you're gonna include the character anyway, make it a special unlock. Make it a special unlock when you reach a certain level in the multiplayer mode or in the actual game, or when you get a specific achievement for something. That at least gives players the incentive to play the story mode or continue playing the multiplayer. But
Exactly.
I say add unlocks for the story. You want Activision, you want people. Okay, maybe Activision doesn't want players to play the story, but the developers who makes the game, they strain themselves making a good or at least decent or entertaining a story about soldiers in war, then you want these multiplayer cod hounds, or whatever you can call them, codfishes, who just plays the multiplayer going, I only need to play the multiplayer, the game is only good for the multiplayer. Okay, just add each time the player finishes a mission and they do it in a particular score, or just the plain act of actually playing through the story mode. Have them unlock a new character, have them unlock a new weapon, a new skin, a new vehicle, maybe not vehicles, but a new character skin,
Yeah.
or okay, vehicle skins, vehicle camouflage skins, like a tank but with a pirate theme or a space theme, or just skins in generals that gives multiplayer
Exactly.
players the incentive to play the story. That works. That works. But make it DLC for extra free money. Okay, you might as well create something new or take something that was really old back, so that the nostalgic players can feel, hey, I played this game and now it's back with updated graphics and this old weapon. Sure, it works like a regular AK-47 like in the game, but at least it's a unique skin. That's kind of cool.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly.
And they had aliens at some point. They had
Yes.
aliens at some point, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. An alien skin. Okay. That's still reusing a model, but create a new model, like an alien human hybrid model or something like that with weapons. There's so much to do, and make it unlocks. And if you're gonna make tons of DLC, at least Borderlands had a good taste of making the costumes unique to the game, even though it was
Exactly.
more like an unlock. In a sense, you just you had to unlock it by buying it. So maybe that's not a good choice of words, but
hey,
still,
like you said,
unlocks.
But again, it didn't force you to buy them in packs. Each one was a super cheap price, $1 or under $1. So you could pick and choose what customization you want for each character. And again, they were unique, like you said, and they were made after the game was made. These new costumes were not made during the game, they were made after, and I'm okay with new content that's being made afterwards. And props to Gearbox for working literally 2 years, 2 whole years after they finished the first Borderlands 2, I'm sorry. After they finished Borderlands 2, they still worked on the bloody game for 2 years, adding a crap ton of new content that was completely optional and made after the game. That's good DLC.
Well,
I don't mind.
Well, true, but to be honest, I feel I should mention this because someone will mention it in the comment box eventually. Sometimes when a DLC is being made, that is usually during the development cycle of the game. It's not finished enough to be in the game. I think I'm gonna take Skyrim as the good example here, because during the time when they were off the game, when they did not work on Skyrim or semi worked on it, I forget what the guy's name is, but he showcased this video footage of the guy of the team, the development team, when they were just lacing or having a blast with the game's engine, and they created a whole lot of things that eventually was turned into gameplay later on, which included the Vampire Lord form, it included the Ryaklings for Dragonborn, it included the riding of a dragon, it included mounted combat, and a few other things. Some things weren't in the game. I would have thought the idea of creating a giant mud crab would have been a freaking hilarious boss fight, because it looked like a really fun fight. But apparently they just didn't have enough time to make it work properly, as it seemed to interact with its environment in a specific way, at least for what I could understand. So in a development cycle, during a game's development, they do take their time to work on DLC. But as we said before, a lot of stuff that is in a game that developers want to be in the game generally don't make it in the final game, but are later on finished and polished and then added as a DLC. Or in some cases, like in SWTOR as it is right now, free updates or free expansions, I should say. The only actual expansion I have to pay for in SWTOR, the MMO, is Rise of the Hutt Cartel, but everything else has been free for the time being. I am keeping my eyes open for an actual DLC that DLC or expansion that will be paid for, and I'm really hoping that they will take their time to make more species in the game that allows more customization, because the only species they actually made and updated was the Cathar. And just a funny note, one of the Jedi Masters was a Cathar of the old model. When this new Cathar update was introduced, that character became a pair of floating eyeballs with no head.
Oh,
that Jedi
Jesus.
Master species had to be rearranged into a Weequay instead of a Cathar, because they couldn't get around that problem. So just a tiny thing I thought was necessary. So there is that. There are these. That's really just how it is when we make a game. Then you have things that become DLC later on. Just felt important to mention that, because that's usually how a development cycle look like. I'm not a game developer. I don't work with video games. I wish I did. I freaking love to. But I'm just making this assumption. I'm making this assumption, and it's really something everyone should know. That making a video game, hate Destiny for all you want for the stupid practice choices Activision pushed down Bungie's throats. But keep in mind that a lot of attention and a lot of time and development was put into this game. It still looks beautiful. It still looks like a decent time waster to play. But for those of us who enjoy a good story, and like myself, I'm in love. I absolutely adore Dragon Age Origins for its rich story and character development. Just think, for anyone who played Dragon Age Origins and thought, this is a great story. I love the characters here. I care for characters like Alistair, Liliana, and even Morrigan. Morrigan is wonderful. But then imagine that EA goes in and they say, okay, remove all the story, take everything out, including character interaction, and, make it all gameplay. Make it gameplay. Make the final. Your character becomes a Grey Warden for no reason and goes to fight the Archdemon. There's no build-up, no explanation, just boom, go fight the Archdemon. That's Destiny. That is Destiny. Interesting gameplay, a good callback to games like RPG battle games like Baldur's Gate and Knights of the Old Republic, with decent gameplay, cool characters and all that stuff, but none of the essentials that made Dragon Age Origins one of the best games in the RPG genre when it came out. And this game was basically something that BioWare had to work really fast on. That was the game. I think so, at least. And then they made Mass Effect. Imagine Mass Effect. Imagine Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 like Destiny is right now. All gameplay, all action, no story, no Commander Shepard, no. Yeah, and no good memes, All of that turned into DLC. That is how a lot of us feel Destiny is. And that's really, really sad. That is really sad. So before you go and jump and defend Destiny, and you should defend it. If someone says that the game is crap mainly because there is no campaign, then they're just being very, very mean. Again, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of development. And again, this is why I think BioWare should be given more good slaps on the back and handshakes than they are usually given. Despite EA whacking down on them, cracking the whip on them so often, they're at least allowing BioWare to do a lot of things that they do. And no other company, and it's EA we're talking about, it's freaking A. They allowed BioWare to change the ending of Mass Effect 3. It may not sound like much, but it's a big step. It is a big step for a company that has earned the title of worst company in America. It is really a big step. It's something that needs to be considered. Maybe this was done after or before. Okay, it must have been done after they got this award, or maybe it was before at some point. But either way, it's still something to admire. But Activision, we will see. Maybe Activision does the exact same things and allow Bungie to release the story as it was supposed to be told as a free expansion or free DLC. But that's the thing. That's the thing what was Mass Effect 3's ending was as well. It was too late and the damage had already been done. And it's gonna take a lot of effort, a lot of love, and a lot of dedication from both the players and the developers and the publisher to save Destiny from being one of the biggest flops of 2014. Which it might have well has, considering the launch it just received. So, respect the developers at least, because, they are hard-working people. It's not all sitting around. It's not all sitting around an office on computers and laughing your ass off and having fun. I do mods in the Creation Kit, and I still can't figure out half of the things that are being done here. And anyone playing playing Skyrim and downloads mod from the Nexus, one of the coolest mods you can find. Take one of the coolest mods you can find that adds unique textures, unique models, unique combat, or anything. There are full DLC mods out there that adds entirely new areas, and this is done by individual players without any funding. With no funding whatsoever, and they're doing it on their own. And they can tell you, as a player to another, that it was not easy. It was hard-earned experience. It took time. It took effort. And they got no payment for it. Maybe some of them did, but if they did, they would be basically eligible for a lawsuit there. But they did not get paid for it. Think about that. Just think about that before you call game developers who makes a game and then do a really stupid choice assholes. And this game is bad because you guys did this thing. It's one mistake. It's a one mistake. It's a mistake that should not be ignored, but it shouldn't damn an entire product and the people behind it because of it. It really shouldn't, because these people may move on with this knowledge they have acquired now that, okay, this was a bad choice. We'll fix it in the next game that we make, or we'll fix it in this game right now. Being a quasi-MMO, as I understand it's being called, It can be fixed, it can be repaired. I hope they will be smart about this and say, okay, this thing about taking away the story and releasing it as a paid DLC, it was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. We need to appease our players. We need to appease the people that actually pays us and sticks by us by taking lore, taking story, and make it free. Okay?
Yeah.
It's important. Paid DLC. Paid DLC, it's good. It's good when it's new. It's good when you create something new, or it's something you were not finished with. But that's what DLC is. Downloadable content that is new and adds and enriches the experience of your game. That's what it's always been to me, and that's why it pisses me off when developers take out things that should be in the game to release it later on. And It's finished. Okay, it's finished. It's finished. So keep that in mind. I went into a rant there. I apologize.
Dude, it's
but,
cool.
You know,
Bravo to you. This stuff needs to be said. You're speaking the truth here.
But it's not really tied to the conversation. It's not really tied to the conversation about DLC.
This is all about one thing and one thing only. This is about DLC.
Yeah.
Everything we've been talking about is downloadable content. Now,
yes.
Before we finish off this video, there's one thing we should talk about. Now, this is completely theoretical. This is completely, in our opinion, in our own crazy thoughts. What is the best case scenario? Like, what direction could DLC? What's the worst direction DLC could take in the next few years? And what's the best direction DLC can take in the next few years? What's the worst and best scenario? Granted, we don't know what's going to happen, but in our opinion, what do we think would happen? Is DLC going to get absolutely horrible, or is it going to get really, really good? Let me just share my opinion on it first. The worst case scenario is huge chunks of the game become DLC. Like even worse than we are now. Like the game is already made, but developers and publishers pick and choose what's going to be DLC, and we're going to have ton of day one DLC. We're going to have entire stories, entire game modes. I told you guys how much in a previous video, how much I hate it when entire game modes are DLC. Stuff that could add so much value, and we have to pay money for something that would make your game better and add more value to it. That I don't like. We're going to see entire chunks of games, entire campaigns, entire bonus modes, entire like rosters of costumes and stuff. We're going to see, we're going to see that stuff in the worst case scenario. In the worst case scenario, DLC goes out of control, and stuff that games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and stuff like armors and weapons that you could find just playing the game, picking up, looting, that's all going to have to be paid for. That's one of the worst case scenario. But absolutely awful scenario, the worst case scenario of all, is if, sorry, I had a thought here. Let me try and regain it. Damn it. Like the worst case scenario of all, worst case scenarios is that that entire games become DLC. Like entire sequels, prequels, stuff like entire hours worth of content becomes DLC.
Ah, there's a parody about that on YouTube. I forgot what the group's name. I think it was 64 or something. Gamer 64. I'm not sure. Made a parody about that. DLC the game. First, you gotta pay $1 for your character to create your character. You gotta pay $1 for a weapon. You gotta pay some more money for a new level. And at the end of the video, it's pretty much and the narrator is just like, and go on to level 2, you gotta pay $40 more. And the guy finally at the end of the video just goes, guys, I don't have any more money. And the narrator says, well, then get the fuck out of here.
Well, yeah, that is right there. You just said the worst case scenario for DLC. However, for me, personal opinion, the best way DLC should move on from here is nothing but season pass. I'm cool with like I read in this video. The season pass thing is a good idea. For, free or for extra pieces of content, whether it be a new story, even game mode, because I'll let it slide with the season pass if it's being made after the game is being made. If we get nothing, but if every game from now on has a season pass and 4 free, like little expansions or full expansions, that will be perfectly fine. That would mean, hey, even after I beat the game, there's still more to look forward to, and it's at a decent price. It's buying a season pass is basically like buying an expansion pack. So, if all games I repeat, nothing else, if pre-orders start to die down, pre-order DLC goes away, that will be great. If little costumes and weapons and camos and all that stuff, all those little $1 DLCs disappear, that will be great. If we have nothing but season passes, that is the best case scenario. Now, what's your idea for the best case and worst case scenario for DLC?
Well, for me, the best case scenario would be, but that really depends on how well the game is doing. I said SWTOR beforehand hasn't had a paid expansion in a long while since the release of Rise of the Hutt Cartel, which was about over a year ago almost. And it has only gone with free content or free expansions over and over again. It's not because the BioWare and EA are being nice. It's because they're doing well. They're doing really well. SWTOR hasn't been shut down like Star Wars Galaxies by Disney now that Disney owns the Star Wars franchise and the license. It's because it still generates a lot of money. It generates income that makes the game worth having around. The only reason the game is still alive and kicking is because it makes money, and because its business practice, while not liked by a lot of players, me included. I'm not really overly fond of Cartel coins, yet I keep buying them because I love the game. I love Star Wars. I want to support Star Wars and this game because it's great for me, as I like it. But as I said, for me, it is a hopes that games will be so good in the future that they do well and that we'll get free expansions and free DLC by developers. But as I mentioned in my fly-in rant earlier, it is that the gamers and the developers show each other mutual respect and show love for their work and what they are doing. I mean, SWTOR is one of the most played MMOs out there, and that really is saying something for a game that's just been hailed as a World of Warcraft clone. Sure, they'll never take World of Warcraft's throne because Blizzard has been in the business making this game for so long, but they're definitely up there fighting over player base. And it's a lot of thanks to the Star Wars fans in general, who, like myself, who plays it. And I agree with the worst case scenario, that the worst case scenario would be that chunks of the game is taken out and important things are taken out. It's like buying a movie only to find out that The Hobbit, take the desolation of Smaug, and Smaug finally shows up and he wakes up and it's cut short. It's not like a cliffhanger ending. It's not a cliffhanger ending. It's actually Smaug wakes up and we see Bilbo, and it's an intense scene, and then he just cuts and it just says, now you're gonna have to buy the rest of the movie. It's that kind of thing, people. It's that kind of thing we're dealing with. That's the worst case scenario in my eyes. Best case scenario is that DLCs will become more, that of course pre-orders die away if they don't add anything unique or interesting to the game. Actually, no, wait, scrap that. I retake that statement. Pre-orders should die. They shouldn't be at all. Okay, for special edition games where you get like this cool little trinket or a CD with a soundtrack or an art book, that's always gonna be good. That's always gonna be fine. Everyone loves that shit. I love that stuff. Yeah, I love it. Okay, I mean, I bought Soul Calibur 5 and Fable 3. I hate Fable 3! I hate the game, but I love the edition. I love how this special collector's edition look like. So pre-orders can die, special collector's editions, they can stay. DLCs as a whole, for me, the best case scenario is that they grow. They grow. They add more content. They add a story. They add new characters. They add new weapons, new lands, new places to explore. That is the best case scenario for me. And, you know, paid or free, it's good. As long as it's a good DLC, I don't see the problem with paying for it. And if season passes are all this, then as well that, you know, pay a season pass and to get these DLCs for free later on or something like that. I'm not sure what season passes work, but if that's a good thing, then I don't see the problem with a season's pass. However, I prefer to have my DLCs separated and, you know, select them for what I want. Weapon and costume and vehicle DLCs, I can do without. Bundle them together, nice big bundle, like the big weapon vehicle costume pack. And we're not talking like 1-2 costume. We're talking a total of 10 or 20 costumes with 5-10 new vehicles and 50 new weapons or something like that, which I think would sum up Call of Duty's
money.
Make it worth the money by making it a lot. And no, I'm not saying quantity over quality. I'm saying both quality and quantity to make paying for it worth it. That's just all I'm saying. But personally, DLCs with more expansions. More expansion DLCs. The worst case scenario, in my sense, was that they only made 3 DLCs. 3 DLCs, why expansions, while adding all this stuff that I mentioned that I like. They were still... Oblivion, for its only really good DLC, it still had plenty of other DLCs. So they shouldn't have cut Skyrim so short. Luckily, Skyrim is a good enough game. It is flexible enough. It has a great character creation. It has enough great mods out there to make this game last for a long time over. So it's not all bad. And I'm trailing off and derailing off the subject, but I think I've made my point clear what my highest expectations of future DLC should be and what I don't want. And I agree completely what the downgrading of DLC would be, what the worst case scenario would be with you. And that's a lot of players, a lot of people with common fucking sense are gonna agree that this is the worst case scenario and we don't want that. We really don't want that. If there's any developer or particularly publisher out there watching this and listening to this, seriously, follow some of the suggestions and please look at Destiny. Look at the negative reviews it's getting from the casual player, not the Bungie fans, not the fans that will defend it to their dying breath. While again, it's a strong game. It's a strong game in its own right. It's good. But it could have been the game of the year. It could have been the game of the year. And if they play their cards right, it may still be the game of the year. But gameplay alone, gameplay and graphics alone, and atmosphere alone, does not make a game of the year. It just doesn't. Particularly gameplay doesn't make a game of the year. Why have Telltale Games been praised for The Walking Dead? Why have Mass Effect been praised so many times, even with its terrible ending in the first few? Because it had a compelling story with characters we care about on top of good gameplay. Don't turn this into a trend. Don't turn a story or gameplay elements or game modes into DLC. I can understand if a game mode is taken out of the game and turned into a DLC, free or paid for later, if the game mode is incredibly flawed and should be remedied, should have some fixes and improvements. That is okay, but not when it's finished and ready to go right off the gate. That is bad practice. That is bad practice. Don't do that. And for anyone watching this video who have an opinion of your own, you just leave your comments in the comment section below. Vote up and down regardless of what you thought about this. I'm sure there's going to be someone out there pressing the dislike button because those people do exist and maybe you disagree altogether. And, you know, subscribe for more videos to the Gamertron show. And yeah, I think this is the point where I should advertise my own channel, but it's all audio logs, okay? It's audio logs, and you'll basically be looking at a still image with text on it and listening to the sounds, so maybe not be up your alley. But yeah, if that's up your alley, just check it out. Just expect it to involve a lot of story elements from Warframe that really doesn't make much sense to you unless you played the game. So that's it. But, you know, for more commentaries like this, and Titanfall Tuesday and all that stuff, which I hopefully can join soon at some point, subscribe for more videos. And Ryan, thanks for having me here, taking over your show with my with my ranting voice. So
Johan, it is
you.
no problem. I need a fresh voice. I'm sure people after a while want to hear a different opinion bit from my own, because I know there are people out there who disagree with me, or would like to hear me interact and express have other people's expressions. This is a show. This is the Gamertron show, people. I'm all up for expanding my community, expanding my friendship and YouTube partners. So please, feel free to comment, to commentate, to tell me your opinion, people, because this is a show. This is a community. So let's get together, let's talk about it, and let's get down to the point. DLC is out of control. And it needs to be talked about.
Yes, and let's be fair to each other. Let's not go and calling each other names. Let's be nice to each other. We're grown-up adults here. Well, except for a few 10-year-olds, but really, what are you doing on the internet? Go do your homework. Seriously, do your homework. Trust me, you don't want to end up like certain other people. Okay, I work at a library. That's cool with me. I do pretty well, so do your homework. Seriously. I don't know why that came out from. And for future commentaries, really, Ryan, if you wanted, right now we're pretty even on our opinions here.
Yeah.
So next time maybe find something that we both that one of us agrees on, one of us disagree on. I mean, that's argument. That's argument.
Indeed.
You need to make compelling arguments. Again, try and be polite. Try and be adult. If you're like me and you're 22 years old or plus, at least act your age, please. Please. So, but I'm not calling any of your viewers that, because I'm sure they're all, from whatever comments I have seen, I know they're all decent people. So, we're dragging out the time. Thank you for having me, and, you know, keep gaming on, people.
Okay.
We need more sensible gamers. Take care.
Indeed. Take care. This has been the Gamertron. This has been Johan, and I'll see you guys later.